Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, everybody. And it is a WTF kind of a day. We're coming back to you with a part three, but we're going to do things a little bit differently today. WTF, right? And here's a big impetus. It's not what the F. Of course, we automatically think that. But we made it through Monday. We made it through Tuesday. What do we have left? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're making sure that we are always staying locked in, focusing on happy, focusing on positive. I'm Vernon Brown, representing Happy Meal Diet, making sure we bring you health, happiness, and every single thing in between. Monday through Friday, 7:45 Central, 8:45 Eastern. So today, we're going to up on our worth with some WTF. WTF is kind of has multiple meanings for me right now. And, play along, pay attention, listen up. So it was brought to my attention yesterday, and you're always going to have someone that kind of throws you off track. You're always going to have some new information or data that you don't expect to have happen, right? So check it. I'm sitting there, I'm minding my own business, doing my thing. God walks up to me and says, "Hey, I've been watching what you've been putting out. It's good stuff. It's cool." I'm like, "All right, cool. Thank you." Out of nowhere, unsolicited. Can't make it up. And God says to me, "That's pretty cool, but I've heard that before." Now, the old me, as ridiculous as it might seem to some of you all, the old me would have taken offense to that. The old me would have been hurt. The old me would have been bothered. The old me would have taken some sort of offense or injury to that. That current me recognized what was my stuff and what was their stuff. And for some of you who want to know the difference, that's not my stuff, right? And so when you come to a place of that's not my stuff, but still people choose to bring it to your attention like it is, it creates a WTF moment. When you are raising your standards, you're going to have so many WTF moments. First, it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I was literally like, what the F, right? And so when I'm sitting there talking with them, and we're, granted, I'm just like, all right, this is a perfect opportunity to create this a teaching moment, as the corporate jargon would say. But the reality is I go with the resistance. And this is why I'm telling you the story, because it's like fantastic. I wanted to talk about this Friday, but guess what? When opportunity presents itself, you go with it. When you're raising your standards, when you're out there doing the things that you want to do, doing the work that God wants you to do, doing the work that your creator, however your relationship is with your creator. I'm not here to talk about that. I don't tell people how to believe. I just want you to believe that things can be better. We can start there. Everything else you can figure out on your own. If you want some help, let me know. But when you're out there doing that work out there like that, and you're up there raising your standards, raising your personal value, making sure that you bring something about, making sure you bring something of interest, of concern, of something of worth to people, everybody's not going to be in your boat. Some people will be in a place of confusion, a place of misunderstanding, a place of searching, a place of negativity, or in this case, a place of what exactly am I supposed to do with it? So when he came to me and said, well, I already know this stuff, the new me, this current version, Vernon, it was a really cool thing because, I sat there for like literally a blink and I just looked at him. I said, cool. So what have you started implementing? I know you know these things. And that's great. And thank you so much for that feedback. But what have you been doing? And it was funny because the look on his face was like, this guy's 15, 20 years older than me. He decided upon himself to walk up to me and say, I've already heard it before. What are you doing with it? What are you doing with it? I'm not talking about rocket science right now. There are some things that I'm going to be diving into that are going to be a bit more technical, but I like to give people an overall glossy view of it. It's honest, it's direct, it's the truth, but overall glossy, pretty picture of things. I want to get into things more directly into the nitty gritty of life because this series is building. Next week, we're talking about relationships, love, sex, all those things like that. The things that make things more interesting in life, but we got to build, right? But second of all, with him, it's like, what have you been doing with it? Many times as you're going out there working on yourself, you're going to have those what the F moments, but you've got to recognize you have got to do something with it. And this is where majority of people get stuck. Sure, sure, you're smart. Sure, you have an understanding of how things going to be. Sure, you need to educate yourself. Sure, you need to level up. Sure, but what are you doing with it? I would rather have 10% education and 90% execution because you will always outdo people. If you are focusing on 90% knowing, 90% educated, 90% attaining, but you don't do anything with it and you have 5% execution, and most of the time, if you're spending that much time educating yourself, you're not doing a damn thing with it. I'm sorry to tell you. And so when I said that to him, I'm like, what are you doing with it? He's like, oh, well, I used to do this and used to do that. Great. What are you doing with that today? And so I don't play the game of, oh man, I'm not good enough, because that's not my stuff. My stuff is what I'm doing right now. I'm getting better. I come in here every single day, 5 days a week, making sure that I'm learning, making sure I'm taking the comments in that makes the content more salacious, making sure I'm just paying attention what could be the most value to people with my free time. Nobody's paying me. Sure, you will see this little thing right here telling you go to HappyMealDiet.com. I'll be a fool. Why? Because I do have a business, I do have a family, I do have goals, but I'm making sure that I'm always giving. But you have to still do things. Knowing is never going to be enough. That's great. When you know better, you do better. But too many people get focused on just knowing better. Knowing is great. Knowing is great, but you cannot deny the person that is in action. You cannot deny that. And it was just always this really good metaphor that I heard that, really showcases the importance of doing. You got two cars driving down the highway, two cars, each going different directions. Both cars break down. Both of them broken down. I don't care if it could be an Audi, it could be a Honda, it could be a whatever, but it's broken down. No matter how nice your vehicle is, it has broken down. Now, both people are in the same exact motherfudging place. Both of them sitting there, the car don't work. They both know that they have to do better. But one of those persons decides to sit there and pout and argue and say that I can't believe this didn't happen, blames his or her wife or partner. They sit back and blame the kids. They sit back and blame the job. They sit back and blame their creator. They sit back and say every single thing's wrong. And I'm not trying to be preachy here. I'm just really trying to focus on a point. Because when you're out there doing these things, you're going to feel attacked. You're going to have people out there who aren't doing a quarter of what you're doing, even a quarter, but they have everything to say. Now, both people have these same conditions, but one of them decides to start blaming people. One of them starts trying to say what's wrong. One of them sits back and just complains because they know so flippin' much. They know that people didn't do what they were supposed to be doing. Now, this other person, car's broken down, knows all the same things that the other person knows, but what does this person decide to do? He decides to get out of his car, look at the situation and say, this isn't working for me. This doesn't line up right. I need to go this way. This is where I'm going, and I am not moving. I know my tires are supposed to be round and not supposed to be flat right now. One is supposed to be flat, however many tires. But what does he do? He puts the car in neutral, grabs the steering wheel, opens up the door, and starts pushing it. The other guy's still sitting there complaining, saying what he knows, but not doing anything with the intelligence that he has. The other guy's pushing the car. Because now cars are starting to drive by. The other guy is sitting in the car flipping out, having a conniption, right? Losing it. We all got people like that in our lives, right? And to a large degree, that was me years ago, especially when I was working on myself. 20 years ago, I had a horrible temper. Everything was everyone's fault. Everything. Cars are driving by. You can't see the guy who's sitting there. You have to slow down. You got to make sure you're paying attention. You got to look in the car. You got to do all these things, even figure out what's going on. When he's acting like a nut, what are you going to do? Are you going to help them? And I'm not trying to say nut in a diminishing way. I'm saying it in a way just to tell the story the way it was told to me, so bear with it. So he's sitting there, and the other car's like, oh my gosh, am I helping this guy? The other guy is pushing his car down the road. He gets to a hill. He's still pushing. He's built up momentum. But what happens? Other cars see it. Other cars pull over. And they see what he is doing. He's moving forward in spite of all the caca that has happened. He's moving forward. He's figured out that I know that I passed a gas station. I know I'm going to run to a gas station. Somebody's going to help me. So people get out the car and they start helping him push his car down the road. Strangers. People who just recognize the fact that, hey, I see you moving forward. And this, if you're paying attention, is exactly how things can start looking for you in life. And you have a decision to make, because ultimately I'm giving you the options. You can decide if you want to eat this or not. You can decide if you want to chew it up, spit out what you don't want, but you can decide how you ingest this and then do something with it. We don't ingest just to say, hey, I'm full. No, we ingest to take it in. So it gives us more energy so we can do things. As you know better, that's your nutrition. You start doing better. And that's what this is about. It's about taking information and doing something with it, not just listening to it. The answer is not going to always be to educate yourself. In most cases, you're not doing enough. And I'm not trying to say that in a way saying you need to go out there and overwork yourself. No, slow down in some cases, but do something differently. Maybe you're doing too much. Maybe you need to act differently. Maybe you need to sit back and realize what's your stuff. Like I just was talking about in my example, what happened to me Sometimes that's what we need to do. Sometimes we need to start saying no more, but you got to do something different. Maybe you have to do more. Most cases, you have to do a little less. Maybe you just need to be more strategic. But sitting back saying this things I know, but you're not doing anything with it, that doesn't work with me. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't do anything for you. So when I created the message and I was like, WTF, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but it's also like, what the F are you doing? How are you taking this information? Are you just listening and say, hey, man, this is great. I like your voice. I like how you say things. You make me funny. I like your energy. These are things I hear. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but this is the feedback that I get. But are you doing anything differently? Or are you blaming people? Everything is your fault in life. I'm sorry to tell you. All entrepreneurs know this. And if you don't, you know it now. If you're not getting what you want out of life, you need to get in action to go get it. And it's not that, again, that you have to do more. I know we're all stretched thin. I know our resources are not finite. I recognize that all of us have something or some evolution that we're working towards and on. But maybe it's time for you to look towards a different resource. Maybe it's time for you to start doing something more creative. Maybe it's time for you to sit down and listen more and maybe, construct a plan. But you got to do something with it. And when you're out there pursuing, a better lifestyle, better circumstance, better situation, a better job, a better finances, better relationships, being a better parent, raising children isn't just about, I give you shelter and food. That's how I was raised. We got to do better. We got to figure some things out. But knowing that you need to do better is not where you stop. That's where we begin. And I'm saying this to you with so much influence. I'm saying this with so much inspiration and positivity. You got options. You straight up have options here, but you have to do something. I know 2 + 2 = 4, but when's the last time you did the math in your own life? I'm all about creating a better reality, creating a better outcome, creating a better end game. That's where most of my energy comes from because I'm so excited for what I'm creating. But are you? Or are you just focused on saying, I know the textbook's knowledge, but not the application? Some of the most successful people that I have coached, 6, 7 figures a month, are coming into people and they don't have high school. I mean, they barely have a high school education. They could not stay in school, but they know how to execute. They know how to get things done. Education is great, but as you are going out there, you have got to do. And pulling this back from a different perspective, I'm not asking for anything but people to give me their ears, listen, hey, get a free cookbook. Go out there and make sure you can go and live your life in a positive way, giving you some more positive perspectives on how you can live your life, a different way of saying it. I speak a little differently. Sometimes I speak a little fast. Sometimes I speak a little slow. Like the song goes, sometimes I'm around slow, sometimes I'm around quick. If you're 80s baby, you know what I'm talking about. But you have got to get the message that knowing is not enough. That was great with G.I. Joe, but that's past generation. Now it's time to do something. But when you're out there doing the things that you're working on, do not expect everybody to understand. But know what's your stuff and know what's not your stuff. Know when someone says something, they're coming to you from a place of, how can I do this? Before I would have felt attacked and I would have fired back. But this time I felt like it was a great opportunity. I know it was a great chance to just kind of reflect and then throw it back. That's not my stuff. And I know the difference. And I'm telling you to do the same thing when you're out there raising your standards and up-leveling your life or creating better circumstances. When you are creating better circumstances, people are not going to understand it every time. As I said on Monday, as I said last week, this is a big theme that's going to come up. No one is going to, some people aren't going to understand. Some people will. The people who won't understand, they will probably be your peers. I'm going to get deep. It'll be your loved ones, your family, your friends, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever. It could be, your close family. Can be the ones that are closest to you. And that's okay, because the positive of this is if you can handle them, if you can muster up the courage to maybe even keep your mouth closed sometimes when they say some things, to recognize that's just where they are. They're not trying to attack you unconsciously. You'll be so much better off. But you have got to stay focused on execution. Maybe do things a little smarter. I got to repeat this again. Maybe do things a little differently. And I'm willing to bank, if I was to have a conversation with anybody who's saying, well, I'd already do enough, that if I talked with you and asked you enough questions, you would sit back and was like, wow, I'm just putting all my energy into the wrong things. I promise you. I got a great comment. No one sees the vision until it's reality. Absolutely. No one is going to see it. You have to put that work in. And the problem that happens is we've been sold this kind of Disney adventure, Disney afternoon, that when you're working on something, it's be like Field of Dreams. Even in that movie, he didn't get all the support. They thought he was crazy. But what they don't really, that I don't see some emphasis on is how that can affect you emotionally. That's why I would have responded that way years ago. It would have affected me in such a way that I would have said, I would have heard, well, I already know this stuff. I would have thought like I wasn't good enough. Maybe I'm not giving enough. Maybe I'm not. I would have sort of taken it all on me. But this is part of the emotional journey to being better and working to building yourself up. Your nervous system just starts recognizing like, whoa, hold the phone. You can take that and put that in that bucket that you brought with you, and I'm going to keep my stuff in my bucket. Now, we can talk about how we can make this work. We can do that dance, but I can tell you what's not going to happen here. And I said in a very polite way when I just said this, what have you done with it? But you got to recognize that no one's going to see it if you don't pursue it with passion and fun and excitement, if you're not going to go in after inspiration. I very seldom pay attention to the person who's telling me they're working on themselves and they don't have one of these kind of expressions at the end of the day. Today was a beast. Every single day. If you talk to me, you know me. I know some of my clients are watching this. You will hear me say this because I'm very open and honest about things I'm working on because I'm no better than anybody. I'm like, man, today was a beast. Today was a bear. Today kicked my butt. Because it's not easy. When I look back on it, yesterday really wasn't that hard. I had some conversations. One of my requirements that I challenge myself with is to get uncomfortable every single day. Every single day. That's what I'm willing to do to get better. And I'm willing to deal with an emotional toll on it. Why? Because it doesn't bother me anymore. And I know this. You know this. But I'm doing something with it. Raise your standards in spite of the current conditions. Raise your standards and continue to persist even though people aren't going to agree with you or believe in it. Years ago when I said I wanted to be a happiness coach, every single person told me I was a damn fool. Every single person, including my family. Shout out to my dad. My dad is one of my biggest supporters. My dad don't even know what I do. He knows what I do, that I help people and I work with people, but to the level I do things. But when I first started out, no one believed in me. No one understood it is what it really was. How do you do that? But that's how a disbelief looks. It starts as almost a personal attack. And I'm kind of go a little bit longer than what I typically do here. Just bear with me, ride with me here. I'm going to try to wrap this up in a couple of minutes. I'm going to do my best to. But when you have persons who don't understand how you're going to do that because they're stuck in how they think that the only way you can do this is, you go out, then you go up, and then you go in, and that's how you make a square. Well, I'm not trying to make a square. There is no box in life for me. There never was a box. I believe there was a box. You believe that this is the best that you can do. You believe that's the most income you can make. You believe that person would never want to date you, want to see you, could see you romantically outside of a friendship. Those are little good constructs, confines that we create for ourselves. But you got to realize whatever you're building is yours. It was given to you, but you got to see it through. It's your vision. It's your dream. Do not expect everyone to be on board with it. Right now, I'm not even talking to you all. I'm talking to my younger self because I needed to hear this when I first got started out. I needed to hear these things. It was tough, but now I sit back and look on it. I'm so happy that it happened. And for anybody who's tired of knowing so much, who's tired of doing so little, or I think ultimately is you're not getting the result or outcome that you're looking for, please pay attention. You can do this. Even if it's just, I got to make one more phone call today. Even if it's, I send one email. You wanted to send 10. Who cares? You're doing. You can't fix yesterday. You can't. It's done. But we got today. That's why this is WTF. We got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Go out there and get what's yours. Go out there and focus on the things that really light you up. In spite of the fact that people are going to put their stuff onto you sometimes. Some of those people are not conscious of it. This guy wasn't conscious of it, and that's fine. But he's conscious of it now. I'm always campaigning for that. If you want it, come and get it. But you're not going to put your stuff onto me. Because why? Because I know where I'm headed, and in spite of some of the challenges that I'm going to have to go through. Just like you know what you're working on. If you want to have better shape, get in better shape. Start today. Start small. You messed up the whole week for anybody who's following Happy Meals. Who cares? Who cares? That's gone. We got WTF. That's all we got. If you try to say that my body's not looking the way that I would like, what can you start doing today to change that? Or are we going to sit around and talk about how you're not getting that result? Do something different. You didn't look at that resume. Do something different. It fits with everything. Somewhere in your life, if I ask you, and I challenge anybody who's listening to this, take me up on this, because I will do this. We will do this live. Anything that you are struggling with, if I ask you about 5 questions at best, and I've been doing this a long time, and even before that, my intuition's sharp. I can see exactly where you are stuck. If I ask you a few questions, you will say, oh my God, it's been right here the whole time. That's one of the reasons why my success rate is so high. I see exactly what's going on. I see where you're stuck. This thing creates blind spots, scotomas. It won't let you see some things, but you can only have a blind spot one time, just like I said before. Other than that, it is a choice. Make better decisions, choose a greater reality. Make better decisions, you'll create a better reality. In spite of, keep moving forward. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to see you all tomorrow. WTF, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Happy Meals giving you happy every single day at Monday through Friday, 7:45 Central, 8:45 Eastern. If you have questions or comments, share them with the group. And if you want to do something live, I'm going to start doing some interviews here live. They'll be starting next week. Let me know. I'm happy let's get jiggy with this. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you guys.